Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A path, often marked, where something, as a street or railroad, can be crossed to get from one side to the other. A junction where one street or road crosses another. Genetics, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. A shallow area in a stream that can be forded. A point where two lines, paths or arcs etc., intersect. A voyage across a body of water, usually across the Atlantic Ocean. Traveling across. A voter who is registered as a member of one political party but who votes in the primary of another party. A path, often marked, where something, as a street or railroad, can be crossed to get from one side to the other. The interchange of sections between pairing homologous chromosomes during the prophase of meiosis. The appropriation of a new style, especially in popular music, by combining elements of different genres in order to appeal to a wider audience. A jazz classical crossover album. A path, often marked, where something, as a street or railroad, can be crossed to get from one side to the other. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A junction where one street or road crosses another. The set of elements common to two or more sets. The set of red hats is the intersection of the set of hats and the set of red things. A junction where one street or road crosses another. A point where lines intersect. A representation of common ground between theories or phenomena. A point or set of points common to two or more geometric configurations. The act of intersecting, as joining by causing your path to intersect your target's path. Meet at a point. To cover or extend over an area or time period. Extending or lying across, in a crosswise direction, at right angles to the long axis. Cross members should be all steel. Travel across or pass over. Annoyed and irritable. Any affliction that causes great suffering. That is his cross to bear. A marking that consists of lines that cross each other. Genetics, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. Hinder or prevent, the efforts, plans, or desires, of. Genetics, an organism that is the offspring of genetically dissimilar parents or stock, especially offspring produced by breeding plants or animals of different varieties or breeds or species. A mule is a cross between a horse and a donkey. Breed animals or plants using parents of different races and varieties. Cross a horse and a donkey. A representation of the structure on which Jesus was crucified, used as an emblem of Christianity or in heraldry. A wooden structure consisting of an upright post with a transverse piece. Fold so as to resemble a cross. She crossed her legs. Meet and pass. The trains crossed. Trace a line through or across. Cross your T. Reproduction by parents of different races, especially by white and non-white persons. Genetics, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. Genetics, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. Genetics. The act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. Genetics. The act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. Reproduction by parents of different races, especially by white and non-white persons. Genetics. The act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or plants and thus to produce hybrids. 38th President of the United States. Appointed Vice President and succeeded Nixon when Nixon resigned, 1913 to 2006. Son of Henry Ford, 1893 to 1943. The act of crossing a stream or river by wading or in a car or on a horse. United States manufacturer of automobiles who pioneered mass production, 1863 to 1947. English writer and editor, 1873 to 1939. Grandson of Henry Ford, 1917 to 1987. A shallow area in a stream that can be forded. United States filmmaker, 1896 to 1973. Cross a river where it's shallow. An established line of travel or access. A course of conduct. The path of virtue. A line or route along which something travels or moves. The hurricane demolished houses in its path. A way especially designed for a particular use. The state of being joined together. The shape or manner in which things come together and a connection is made. An act of joining or adjoining things. Something that joins or connects. The place where two or more things come together. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. The casual couplings of adolescence. A mechanical device that serves to connect the ends of adjacent objects. A connection, like a clamp or vise, between two things so they move together. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. The state of being joined together. The act of making or becoming a single unit. A class of verbs having the same inflectional forms. The complete set of inflected forms of a verb. The inflection of verbs. Healing process involving the growing together of the edges of a wound or the growing together of broken bones. Being of or having to do with the northern United States and those loyal to the Union during the American Civil War. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. A set containing all and only the members of two or more given sets. Let C be the union of the sets A and B. An organization of employees formed to bargain with the employer. You have to join the union in order to get a job. The state of being a married couple voluntarily joined for life, or until divorce. God bless this union. The United States, especially the northern states during the American Civil War. The state of being joined or united or linked. There is strength in union. The act of making or becoming a single unit. The union of opposing factions. A device on a national flag emblematic of the union of two or more sovereignties, typically in the upper inner corner. A political unit formed from previously independent people or organizations. Of trade unions. The union movement. The occurrence of a uniting of separate parts. Lightning produced an unusual union of the metals. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. The mating of some species occurs only in the spring. The act of pairing a male and female for reproductive purposes. The act of grouping things or people in pairs. The part of the Earth's surface covered with water, such as a river or lake or ocean. The part of the Earth's surface covered with water, such as a river or lake or ocean. They invaded our territorial waters. A facility that provides a source of water. The town debated the purification of the water supply. Binary compound that occurs at room temperature as a clear colorless odorless tasteless liquid. Freezes into ice below 0 degrees centigrade and boils above 100 degrees centigrade. Widely used as a solvent. Liquid excretory product. The child had to make water. Supply with water, as with channels or ditches or streams. A liquid necessary for the life of most animals and plants. He asked for a drink of water. Fill with tears. His eyes were watering. Once thought to be one of 4 elements composing the universe, Empedocles. Provide with water. We watered the buffalo. Secrete or form water, as tears or saliva. My mouth watered at the prospect of a good dinner. Be oriented. The weather vane points north. Sail close to the wind. Repair the joints of bricks. Point a chimney. Any of 32 horizontal directions indicated on the card of a compass. He checked the point on his compass. Be a signal for or a symptom of. Her behavior points to a severe neurosis. A specific identifiable position in a continuum or series or especially in a process. A distinct part that can be specified separately in a group of things that could be enumerated on a list. The main point on the agenda was taken up first. An outstanding characteristic. His acting was one of the high points of the movie. A V shape. The cannibal's teeth were filed to sharp points. A contact in the distributor. As the rotor turns, its projecting arm contacts them and current flows to the spark plugs. The dot at the left of a decimal fraction. Direct into a position for use. Point a gun. Indicate a place, direction, person, or thing, either spatially or figuratively. He pointed to the empty parking space. The property of a shape that tapers to a sharp tip. The gun muzzle's direction. He held me up at the point of a gun. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. The point of the arrow was due north. An isolated fact that is considered separately from the whole. A point of information. A wall socket. An instant of time. At that point I had to leave. A very small circular shape. A row of points. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. Give a point to. Intend something, to move towards a certain goal. A punctuation mark, placed at the end of a declarative sentence to indicate a full stop or after abbreviations. A brief version of the essential meaning of something. Get to the point. a distinguishing or individuating characteristic. He knows my bad points as well as my good points. A geometric element that has position but no extension. A point is defined by its coordinates. A linear unit used to measure the size of type, approximately 1/72 inch. A promontory extending out into a large body of water. They sailed south around the point. A style in speech or writing that arrests attention and has a penetrating or convincing quality or effect. Be positionable in a specified manner. The gun points with ease. Indicate the presence of game by standing and pointing with the muzzle. The dog pointed the dead duck. Mark, a psalm text, to indicate the points at which the music changes. Mark, Hebrew words, with diacritics. Mark with diacritics. Point the letter. 1% of the total principal of a loan. It is paid at the time the loan is made and is independent of the interest on the loan. Sharp end. He stuck the point of the knife into a tree. The object of an activity. What is the point of discussing it? The precise location of something, a spatially limited location. She walked to a point where she could survey the whole street. The unit of counting in scoring a game or contest. He scored 20 points in the first half. An act of traveling by water. Travel on water propelled by wind or by other means. A journey to some distant place. The act of going from one place to another. The act of going from one place to another. Change location. Move, travel, or proceed, also metaphorically. We traveled from Rome to Naples by bus. Travel upon or across. Travel the oceans. Undertake a journey or trip. A movement through space that changes the location of something. Self-propelled movement. Make a trip for pleasure. The act of going from one place to another. He enjoyed selling but he hated the travel. Travel from place to place, as for the purpose of finding work, preaching, or acting as a judge. Undergo transportation as in a vehicle. We traveled north on Route 508. Street crossing where pedestrians have right of way, often marked in some way, especially with diagonal stripes. A crossing that uses an underpass or overpass.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.